welcome to Flory Models Kit Review Time. Today we're looking at PVA glues, or basically white glues and things like that. Now for years and years and years I used to use cheap craft PVA glue. For everything I sort of needed, had no real problems with it. And I used to do things like obviously PE, sticking down that, because that way you can move it a little bit. Super glue I tend to find is a little bit, you know, it grips and you can't move it. So I like to use PVA glue and canopies, things like that. That way I can get in there, cut them off cleanly, easily. You don't have any risk of fogging and all the things like that. And little things like we've done down here, we've done it in the past, but windows, you know, so if you've got a situation like this on this airliner where you've got windows, you know, I like to do PVA. And then that way it's great. And then over the years, obviously we used, I've got to think now, what did we do? I went from PVA sort of craft glue, the cheap stuff like this. Then we moved over to Gator glue, which I used to absolutely love. Again, great grip, bite and everything else. And then I moved over to this stuff, which is the sort of staple one I've done. I've got 2 pots of it here. Okay, and this is Micro Industries Crystal Clear. Now the thing with this is I used to just like it because you had no risk with it. It was zero risk. It didn't matter where you use it. If it all went wrong, it would just come away. It would peel away. You could take it off of glasswork if you had to cut off a canopy, particularly if it had gone completely wrong or you had dust inside. You could whip a blade around it, peel it off, clean that really easily, and away you go. So, and it had a very good capability of gap filling. So we were talking about windows. You could do quite large ones with this stuff, better than a normal PVA glue. This stuff as well, you can water it down, you can use it for capillary action to track around and seal things up. And generally, I haven't had a real problem with it. And for, you know, as I say, probably been using this stuff for at least the last 5 years, maybe 6. And as I said, no problem. And this is one of those reviews as well where I'm not saying this is any good, because it's absolutely great. But on the forum, there's a little bit of, you know, movement going around and people have started talking about this stuff. Now this is Deluxe Materials Roket card glue. Okay, it's just the Roket series, all right. Basically it says it bonds card, wood and plastic. And obviously metal working in PVA, it's got grip, but I don't think it's going to be a rock hard pull apart stuff. But it comes in quite a large bottle and all the rest of it. So I thought, you know, well, we'll give it a go, because obviously getting great sort of feedback on the forum and everything else. So I thought, right, we'll go and get a bottle. So anyway, this turned up a couple of weeks ago, but to be honest with everything going on, I've not had time to review it yet. But it is actually very good. I've done a couple of tests with it. The first one is, you might be able to see down on here, which camera's got this. This is a dollop of it, which you might look like a water droplet. This is how clear this actually goes. No problem at all. And again, it's on the end here. So it passed my crystal clear test, no problem whatsoever. It works extremely well. So what does it actually look like? So this bottle, it actually is quite a nice one as well. It's got a nice thin cap. You also get this little guy down the back, which I can peel him off. Okay, so you've actually got an applicator. So if you wanted to, and getting those really hard to sort of get bits, you can just come along like this, and we can then squirt it into wherever we want it. To be honest, we don't need that today. But if you have a look, this stuff is a lot more milky than normal glues. Okay, so you might see, if I get rid of the bubble, okay, this is actually very, very watery. If I just grab a cocktail stick or a toothpick, as you can see, it's a lot thinner. This isn't the thick stuff like you're perhaps traditionally used to, and it'd probably be a nice idea if we do a comparison. So this is the standard crystal clear that we've actually got down here, and this you will need a cocktail stick to grab it. Okay, this is how this one comes out, and you can just see it's very thick. Okay, it's definitely not thin like this. Okay, now originally when I saw this I was a little bit concerned, because I thought it's never going to be able to do anything, you know, it's going to give us real problems. Okay, because traditionally what I would do is use it for anything at all. You know, you just literally, you can run a beader this round and then push it down, it squashes out a bit, a cocktail stick, a cotton bud moistened, wipe away the excess, and away you go, no problem with it at all. So I was thinking, really, is this stuff going to be any good? And doing the other big one, which is, you know, part of why I've got this out here today, is normally if I was doing windows and that, what I would do is I'd grab a dollop on the end like this. Okay, we just come in, touch the corners, okay, and release. Okay, and we do it down here on the white one, you can see it, and release. Okay, and what this actually does then is give you a very nice look. And I thought, well, that's ruined my idea of doing it with this airliner, with the Halifax or things like that, of doing the glass work, because we're not actually going to be able to do that. So I've got going, let's grab another one. So if we put it on test next to it, actually though, you can grab this stuff. Okay, got it down here. To be honest, I've got far too much on my cocktail stick, and we can touch, and this is better, it's quicker, it's faster. Okay, you can literally do 2 or 3 runs with these. Okay, and it's got a little blue hue to it, but don't take too much notice of that. Okay, as you can see. Alright, and you run it round and do it just like that. Now, as I said, I was a little bit concerned, if I'm honest, because I was wondering what capabilities this would actually have, how it would work, and all the rest of it. So to be honest, earlier I did a little series of tests with it. One of them was we just move these out of the way because I don't want to glue everywhere. These here have actually got them in. You might be able to see. And literally 2 on the cocktails, and we just went dop, 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 and we put these in and we did it. The other one as well, you might be able to see down here. Hopefully, I've got a couple of cameras on the go. Okay, you might see these white ones are very thick. They take forever to dry, literally hours and hours. These were dry, and there is no sort of bulge to them. There's no sort of, push and everything else on these guys down here. You can run your finger over this with no problem at all. Okay, these were dry in 10-15 minutes completely, so that's great for holding capability and all the rest of it. And again, you might be able to see this is actually going off already. It's weird, but you can see they're getting thinner and everything else. Now you are going to get what I call the pucker mark if you keep it in the vertical. Okay, so if you've got on the horizontal like this. So the thing is, what you want to do is up tip it and have it that way. That way they bulge slightly out. That way, when you look at it, you might notice a little sort of light reflection off of those. There you go, you see them there? Now I think it works well in this scale, but if you were doing big windows, you might want to, rethink it. So, actually what we could do is, I wasn't planning on this, but we can give this a go as well, because it's on black, you'll see this work really, really well. So down here, for instance, if we were doing these windows, these are a lot bigger. Okay, we can just come in and touch them like that. Okay. And then the thing is, you notice with this stuff, it goes very sticky once it's been kicking around a little while. But you can see these are really easy to do. Okay, so you can do your windows just like that. The thing with these, what I absolutely love, is how quick it dries. Okay, because normally, as you said, you'd be waiting hours and hours and hours. And if we had a time-lapse thing, which I haven't got here to set up at the moment, but even as we're talking, the ones on the airliner now are drying and they're going off and all the bits and pieces. And in fact, these won't take long to go off at all. Okay, and as you can see, different thicknesses. This one in the middle is particularly thin. So what I'm going to do is just add a tiny little bit more to that one because it is extremely thin. So we're just going to put a little bit more in there. And that is the thing, if you're going to do windows with it, even square ones, quite large ones, all the rest of it, you want to make sure that you've got enough in there. If you don't have enough in there, what happens is it gets very, very thin and then it sort of bends in a little bit. You need to have a good amount. So actually you want to do it somewhat so it bulges a little bit. So as it dries, you get the flat look and all the rest of it. But doing windows, that's just so much easier to do it that way than it is to mess around and do it the other. And we'll come back to that guy a little bit later, see if he's dried off. The other thing with this stuff is, as it sits here and dries, it gets thicker. And when it gets thicker, it becomes very useful for doing little tiny jobs, as I said, like PE, stuff like that. So what I would usually do is decant a little bit, let it get a little bit sticky, because when it's thin, obviously with PE, it's just going to go, or photo etch, it's going to zip off absolutely everywhere. But down here, we've actually got just a couple of little bits of scrap PE. But you can put it on, and already it's very tacky, sticky, and all the rest of it. So if we just take this guy, okay, we can put it over the top and we'll just give it a bit of a nudge down, and that is bitten onto it. It's not going to fall off anytime soon. Okay, so I'll just grab a, the great thing is with that, it's on there. Okay, and I don't think, as I say, it's going to move. It's crystal clear, you have no problem with it. And then clean up, to be honest, is really simple because of wet cotton bud, and we're just going to do a little bit of a movement test here. You can see how thick, or hopefully you can see it's getting quite thick here already. Alright, so we can just give it a rub, and you can see that original piece isn't moving. But you might notice already how thick the other stuff is. So by wetting the piece, we can clean up all the way around it. Okay, and admittedly you got a bit there on the bottom. Alright, and that gives you a very nice strong fix. So this stuff would work great with your PVA. It's got enough to bite on there. But remember, this is a PVA glue, so just like super glue, it has what I would call the ping point. Okay, so if you're going to pull at it, because it can't actually soak into the surface of the object, it's literally just going to be a skin. So as soon as you get enough pressure, it's going to pop. To be honest, it's the same with super glue on that type of thing. If you're coming in, obviously, with papers and stuff like that, or card, it's going to literally be able to get into the fibers, and then it's going to go like rock hard, and you're not going to be able to move it at all. Okay, so it's going to be very, very nice. There's no smell to this. It's easily cleaned up with water, no problem at all. I do like that it comes in this bottle as well, because obviously having a smaller top means it'll stay thicker longer. A couple of, you know, not niggles, but the thing is with this stuff, over time it starts to dry out. In the past, I have had problems with this stuff because it gets like a gritty texture to it. I think that's more where it's manufactured, because I've had a bottle, I've sent it back and had a replacement, that had it, had another one, and it was fine. Okay, so you do have to be on those. But really, all PVA glues are working the same, and they have a great thing in the hobby. If you haven't got some, try it. As I say, sticking down clear canopies, fantastic, safe, no problem with fogging. If you need to remove them, that's great, which is a bit of a problem because that one over there has moved since I've put it on, which is a little bit of a pain because that one is one of the only ones I've done probably in the last 10 years which isn't PVA glued. And the thing is, it's slightly off center to one side. I don't quite know I'm going to rectify it, or even if I'm going to try, because if I try and move it, it's going to crack, because I used a weld action glue to put that canopy down. Again, you just get on with these things and it comes back and bites you quite hard. But this stuff is absolutely fantastic. And then, I don't know how well you can see, but this is actually getting very thick down here, very, very sticky. Okay, and as this stuff gets thicker and sticky, you might see it really becomes just like your more traditional glues. But you can see this stuff really going off very, very rapidly. Okay, but if you wanted to, you know, you could use it like a more traditional, the thicker PVAs. But to be honest, 9 times out of 10 when I'm using this stuff, I will thin it anyway. So this is, as you can hear, very much a liquid, rather unlike the other types, okay, which don't move at all. So in some ways, this is more my preferred way of doing it. It's ready in a bottle, nice tight neck and everything else like that. You have got this applicator, so if you did need to get into areas, I don't know quite in our hobby where you do it, but it has got it, which is again a very nice touch. Okay, and you're good to go. But really, highly recommend it. No smell to it, very, very nice. Already, I should think this guy is dry. So as you can see, no problem with that at all. Beautiful, clean, crisp, no cleanup required. Okay, and it is, that's properly on there. Yeah, that's really stuck down. As I say, if you pull it too hard, obviously it's going to ping off. But I can honestly say you can, you know, that's not going to fall off. It's not going to come off or anything else like that. That is definitely down on there. And if we look at our windows, you can probably see the first two, you know, no problem, they're starting to go, but the others are really starting to work our way clear. And hopefully you can see these first ones were all done with it about half an hour before I recorded this. Okay, and they are looking very, very nice indeed. Really nice, very straightforward, no problem with it. Okay, so there we go. That is Deluxe materials. They call it Roket card glue. It's basically card glue and everything else. It's a 50ml bottle. The part number is AD57. I don't know if it's got a shelf life or anything else. Normally these things don't. Okay, but as I said, it really is a very nice product. Works extremely well and does everything I could get out of it.